Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review on these Fighting Sports Revere boxing gloves. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so today I'm doing a close-up weigh-in and review on the Fighting Sports Revere boxing gloves. I got mine in 14 ounces. It's a Velcro closure only glove. I got it in the red, white, and blue colorway, and this is by far the most affordable of the Fighting Sports gloves. And surprisingly, a really good glove for the price point, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. But it utilizes a synthetic leather outside casing. The synthetic on here is actually a really nice kind of thicker, has kind of like a tacky feel to it. You can see the texture of the red on here, which has more of a satin finish. You have the Fighting Sports logo on the back of the glove, a full-length attached thumb. Here is the full wraparound Velcro closure. You also have the Fighting Sports patch that is actually recessed into the Velcro strap. The inside liner is a satin nylon liner with a synthetic on the back of the wrist. It says 14 ounces on the back. I'd say you have about an inch of padding on the back of the wrist, and very similar to like some Thai style gloves, this wrist is actually has a rounded cuff rather than a segmented cuff where you have a separate piece for the inner part of the palm, or should I say the inner part of the wrist compared to the back side. So you have that wraparound Velcro closure, white palm with the ventilated holes, and a grip bar. It's a little on the small side and it's pretty soft. I wish that was stiffer. That way you have a little bit more of a pronounced feel when you make a fist. And there you have it. Red piping and also blue on this side. And this is a little extra piece of padding as well, which is really nice for parrying and blocking strikes with this little extra piece of pad. That's about 1/4 of an inch right there as well. So I'll show you guys the gloves next to each other. And again, just the quality. It utilizes a one-piece molded foam, which has a much more stiffer density to it. You can see it's a pretty firm glove. To me, which is more ideal for training and hitting the mitts as well as doing the bag work. Not so much for sparring, although you can use these for sparring. I would recommend these more of a training bag glove and hitting mitts. You get a really nice dense feel with these, and they're very protective. So let's go ahead and put these on the scale, see how much they weigh. So starting off with the right glove is at 14.6, so about a 1/2 ounce overweight. And the left glove is at 14.7. So they're about exactly on point with weight with each other and just about a 1/2 ounce overweight. Let's go ahead and do the review. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here, and today I'm doing a review on the Fighting Sports Revere boxing gloves. Got mine in 14 ounces. It's a Velcro closure only glove. You can also get these in 12 ounces. And I got mine in the red colorway. They also have this in black and white. Now, the reason I got these gloves is I hadn't tried out a pair of entry-level Fighting Sports gloves. I've done several reviews in the past of Fighting Sports products, which is also a Title boxing product. This is just one of their model lineups. And I've never done one that is at the price point that this one is at. Another reason is I wanted to kind of compare this to some of the gloves you can get at like your local sporting goods stores or department stores like Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, mainly Everlast stuff like the Everlast Spark or the Everlast Cord gloves, and see how they'll stack up compared to this one. And this one by far, it's a much better glove at the price point. Now design-wise, when you're looking at this, this glove is all synthetic leather. It is manufactured in Pakistan, and the profile of it kind of gives me more of that hybrid boxing glove between like a boxing and a Thai style glove, with it having a little bit more of a shorter, stockier stature to it and a little bit more of a wider look. So you could definitely see that there's a little bit of that Thai influence in this glove. It does have this red synthetic leather material that is actually really nice. Has a little bit more of a thicker feel, and they also have this textured, grainy look to it with more of a satin finish. You have the Fighting Sports logo on the back of the glove. No stitching between the thumb and the back of the glove, and it utilizes molded foam. One thing I like about the molded foam they use in here is that it's not like the traditional style IMF where it has that bulby generic look to it that you see with a lot of gloves. This one has a little bit more of its own, I guess, shape, if you want to call it, and it's not as thick, so you get a little bit more of a better feel when you land your punches with this glove, which is really important, which we'll discuss here in a second. Full attached thumb. Again, I love the fact that they don't use a piece of nylon with that. Coming down to the wrist section, you have the wraparound Velcro strap with the white piping. Uses that same synthetic leather material in blue, as well as a plastic patch that is recessed into the Velcro strap, which is really nice, so you don't have any sharp edges. If you decide to use these gloves for sparring, then you don't have to worry about cutting your partner open by accident with the plastic patch. And worst case scenario, you can always tape it off if you are worried about that. The inside of the glove has a polyester nylon liner. The 14-ounce weight tag on the opposite side, it shows that it's made in Pakistan. And you also have that same synthetic material on the back of the wrist. You have about, I'd say, an inch of firm padding on the back of the wrist that kind of tapers down to about a ½ inch on the inner portion. It does have a rounded cuff, not a segmented cuff that most traditional boxing gloves have, where you have a separate section of foam that goes right up here and on this side, and then it separates to the back side of the cuff. This is a rounded cuff, similar to like what you had with the Protex glove and a lot of Thai style gloves as well. You have about a ½ inch of padding right here that's good for parrying and blocking shots, as well as ventilated cross holes on the palm. The grip bar is on the small side and it's pretty soft. I wish that was a little bit bigger and a little bit more of a pronounced feel when you grip down on it. It does say fighting on the grip bar as well. And there you have it. So you can see it's a pretty clean looking glove and it has more of a hybrid look to it. Quality wise, for the price point, these gloves are actually really nice. And again, that kind of goes back to me wanting to compare it to some of the entry-level Everlast stuff. The synthetic they use in here definitely feels a little bit more premium, has a thicker feel to it. Weight-wise, these were a little overweight at about 14.5 ounces. Not a huge deal, considering it's about a ½ ounce, and to be honest with you, you probably won't even notice it when you're using these gloves for your training, so that's not too huge of a deal. No issues with stitching or symmetry or it being consistent between the two gloves. Sometimes you get gloves that are inconsistent, or when you put your hands in them, they just don't feel right between the left and the right. You can see it's pretty well balanced, so the distribution of weight is where it needs to be at. You don't have a floppy wrist, so the wrist section there is good. Again, the patch looks clean right there. The stitching looks good. And then just kind of rotate it. Where the index finger meets the thumb looks clean. And the outside edge right there. There's the palm, the piping, the stitching right here. I mean, again, it looks pretty good for everything that you see here, all things considered. There's no glaring issues with this glove, no bumps or inconsistencies. I've been using this quite a bit on my heavy bag. I haven't had any problems there. You can see the foam is definitely more on the firm, dense side. And again, we'll kind of discuss that with this type of molded foam they utilize in here. Now, comfort-wise, sliding my hands in here, my first impression is that the glove feels really comfortable. One thing you'll notice is that the thumb looks short, and it definitely has a little bit more of a shorter feel if you have longer fingers than me. Now, I have medium-sized hands, and it didn't cause me any issues personally, but I can definitely foresee if you have a thumb that's longer than mine, and again, that's really going to be hard to judge based on you just watching this video, but the thumb can be a little bit longer. Now, it's not uncomfortable. I feel like it's very comfortable. The seam here doesn't pinch down on the fat part of my thumb. The actual shape of it, the curvature is really good, so I definitely like that, and there's a good amount of flexibility, as well as foam padding, which is the same padding they use on the punch surface. Is all one piece of molded foam. So that feels good. The wrist support feels really good. The palm doesn't feel too restrictive. The strike piece right here feels really nice, especially if you're going to block a shot, whether it's a strike, a knee, elbow, punches, whatever it may be. So that's good. The grip bar could be definitely bigger and thicker. I mean, I could feel it, but I wish it was a little bit bigger so I had a little bit more of a pronounced feel when I grip down on it. I like the fact that they do put a piece of neoprene into the finger compartment, so when you pinch down on it over a period of time, it'll kind of take the impression of your finger and kind of shape to it. And the finger compartment is a perfect width, and it's not too narrow or too wide to where your fingers kind of swim around, nor do they kind of push on each other. Sometimes you get gloves were the finger compartment. Most recently were the Everlast MX2 gloves I had that issue with, where I felt like my pinky finger was kind of doing one of these, and every time I would punch, it would kind of rub into my ring finger, and I hated that feeling. The other big thing about the comfort with these gloves is the fact that for a molded foam glove, typically they're extremely stiff when you get them. It takes several times on the bag, maybe a couple of days or even weeks, to really soften up the foam to get more flexibility. With this glove, you can see that you can open and close your hand with relative ease. Now, there's going to definitely be a little bit more of a break-in period with these, but compared to other molded foam gloves, it has more flexibility, which I love. So, and that's typically unheard of when it comes to molded foam gloves. It doesn't have that rounded, bulby shape like traditional IMF gloves do have. So, definitely a big, performance. I wouldn't say upgrade, but in terms of my personal preference when it comes to the glove, I definitely love the feel of it having a little bit more of a broken-in glove. Wrist support feels really good right there. It does have a shorter cuff, so it doesn't drop too far down on your forearm for those of you guys that do like shorter cuff gloves. Now, protection and performance. Now, this is going to be the big part of this glove that I really enjoyed, is the fact that this molded foam, it has the same stiffness that you would find with most molded gloves. That it's a very dense glove, but you can actually see when I push down with my finger, it kind of leaves an impression. So it almost reminds me of like a memory foam mattress, in the fact that yes, it's on the firm side like a molded foam glove, but it does kind of keep its shape a little bit, and the punch surface does have a lot more of a flat feel to it. It doesn't feel like your strikes bounce off your target or the heavy bag. And this is definitely, to me, more on a protective, shock absorbing type of glove. I would recommend this more for bag work and hitting the mitts, not so much a sparring glove. I feel like the glove is pretty stiff for a sparring glove. Not to say that you can't use them, but also the fact that they only offer this in 12 and 14 ounces. Most people like to spar with 16 ounces and up just to protect themselves and their sparring partner. I would recommend this more for bag work and for mitt work because of the density of that molded foam. But when you land a shot, you definitely get a good pronounced feel. Not as good as feedback as I'd like, but definitely very protective. Now, cost-wise is the best part about this glove. This glove is only $24.99 from Title Boxing, which to me is insane for a glove like this. And now I'm going to kind of tie it back to what I was saying earlier about Everlast. I know that Everlast sells their core gloves. They have their Elite Pro Style glove that are synthetic leather, and I think they're called the Spark gloves. And those are, to me, quality-wise, not anywhere close to these. Performance-wise, not as good as these as well. And these are right there in the same price point. These are definitely probably the best gloves at $24.99, or a sub $30 glove that I've used so far ever. Just based on the performance, the synthetic materials, the little details is what really surprised me, like the little neoprene pad. Yes, they use molded foam, but it has a different mold to it. It's not that rounded style mold. The attached thumb is not nylon. They didn't cheap out on that. And it just doesn't feel like they cut corners with this glove. It feels like this could be easily a $50 or $60 glove rather than at $24.99. So I definitely recommend this glove for beginners. If you're starting off in boxing and you're looking for a glove and you're maybe on a budget, this is really a good choice. If you're looking for a sparring glove, I would probably stay away from these. But they're definitely a good entry-level glove. And even for those of you that may be experienced and you just want a glove to add to your rotation, and use for mainly bag work and hitting the mitts, and these would definitely be a good alternative to try out. So if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them down below in the comments box. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find these Fighting Sports Revere boxing gloves. I'll see you guys later. Take care.